Shit lit up, did it?
You like it? You think it's cute?
Yeah, you cute, man. Real cute. Pause.
Yo, so I just want to point out this is therapy for us all. Like week in, week out. We look forward to it. Listen,
Fellas, it's gonna be one of them nights.
It's gonna be. I'm telling you. Still no bombs, man. But we're working on it, man. Tried to get us some bombs today, but you know, that's how the cookie crumbles, man. What's up, man? Another Tuesday night at 9, man. Prototype Dead back, man. I know we've been in the hiatus, but trying to get things back on track, man. What's up, Hit? How you feeling, brother? You know what I'm saying? This is another appearance, man, from the
Dude been sick, man. You know what I'm saying? They went and got sick and shit. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna, you know what I mean? Cats talking about they limping, sick, all type. Yeah, you know what I mean? Mo, man, I don't know what's up with these dudes, man. You know what I'm saying? They gotta tighten up,
folks
man.
Out here catching that swine flu.
Yeah, man.
You changed
that bird. Nah, I call it bird flu.
Man. What you got, Mo? How's your mental?
Man, I'm good right now, man. And you know, we had talked about it before, man. Like we talked about it, like going back into the office, man. I've noticed because of that, it forces me to actually go work out. So if I'm in the office 4 days a week, I'm probably gonna work out 4 days a week, and I've noticed it's helped my mental, man. It brings back some other stuff, but it's okay. It's man, I like where I'm at right now, man. I'm happy.
Put a bear in the woods, boy.
I know
bear going to do bear things.
You know what I mean? So, but no, man, life's good, man. I can't complain.
Man, I can't complain either, man. My mental state is it's pretty solid as of right at the moment. You know what I'm saying? Some up, some down, but nothing drastic. I done seen some dark sides, but I've been staying pretty healthy and clear when I speak about my mind lately. You know, it's some other things. So man, Mo, let's talk about some news that's going on, man. So you've been following this Carmelo Anthony case. What's your thoughts on
it? You know, man, and it's kind of this is the duality of Mo. So on one hand, man, because it gets into kind of the political arena or the racial stuff, there's a little bit of it you want to kind of pick and choose a side. But long story short, for those who didn't know, man, so at a track meet down in Texas, young black dude supposedly was getting bullied by these two white twins. You know, they went to go jump on him, and my man wasn't going for it, man. He poked one of them up, man. He ain't with us no more. So obviously, man, you know, the little white boy, he, you know, and his family and his community they have a very big problem with this. You know, I can see it both sides. As a father, man, you don't ever send your kid to a track meet and expect them to not come home. So I feel for that. I definitely feel that, you know, I definitely send condolences. However, stand your ground is staying your ground for everybody. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what he did. So, you know, obviously the justice system is going to play out how it plays out. But, man, it's an unfortunate situation, but that's kind of how it needs to be, man. You know, from an equality standpoint, man. As long as everybody's graded the same way, in our systems, in our courts, I'm okay with it. So kind of history tells us this is self-defense, stand your ground, and you know, he should be able to, you know, continue life. So to be determined. And so that's kind of what I've been seeing in the news, and that's what I've been following, because I'm not the biggest current events guy, but that's something I've really been following.
Wasn't he like released on like what people like raise money?
He ended up getting bail. You know, it's the same thing that they did with the young boy up in Minnesota and all that, man. Like they said, he was really high. Oh, during the riots or whatever, with a young boy that shot up them folks, during the
Oh, got you. Oh, right, but so it's
yeah,
like, hey, you don't
yeah,
matter if it goes both ways.
yeah. So they set a really high bail. And not that this family's poor, like they actually are pretty decent. They're pretty well off, so they're straight in that arena. But so they have a GoFundMe or whatever like that. But our community pulled together and they supported him, man. They got enough money where he's able to he bonded out. So he's home with his family. I'm sure I'm sure he didn't mean to do what he did, and he's probably remorseful. But he's gonna have to fight for his freedom at this point. But he's home with his family. Kind of like the other people in previous situations have that don't have the same complexion.
What's your thoughts on it? Hit.
So this is actually the first I've heard of it, man. I gotta really do better. When y'all said Carmelo Anthony, I'm thinking about the basketball player. I'm not gonna lie
I
to
know,
you.
right?
Yeah,
So like,
Right.
I really gotta do better, like getting up with current events. I purposely block out news. You know what I mean? Like, because it just like the way they report, it just seems to me to just always have ulterior motive. I think even with this, it sounds like like it seems like race draws more people attention than anything. And if it wasn't for the race factor, would it be getting the same press? You know what I mean? If it was if it was 3 white kids or 3 black kids, like would we be talking about it? So I think this is something that happens all the time, but I just don't. It's just that race thing, man. I think that race card, and whenever you play it,
it throws
right?
you off how genuine it is.
Yeah, it's like so. I think if you peel back the layers and you pull that card away, then we got another situation, right? Like I think you get down to the root of it, which is, you know what I mean, somebody being bullied, you know what I mean, and the reaction to being bullied, So I think that part is something that they should look at, you know what I mean, and and fix that issue. But even though, man, honestly, I hate to say it like that, but I think bullying is just a part of like
It's part of life. It's
it's
a part of
like
maturing. Yeah.
yeah, it's a part. It's like it's the maturation like of becoming a man, like understanding where you at in the pecking order and having to like fight, like fight for who you want to be and what you want to become, or fight for what you stand for. And I hate to say like, but bullying is not nothing new. Like that's been going on since the beginning of time. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of people that has, you know what I mean, failed to it. And there's a lot of people that's prevailed from it. You know what I mean? Like they wouldn't be where they was at unless they had that type of like, you know what I'm saying,
That
pressure.
experience.
Yeah, you know what I mean? That's put on them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been attempted to be bullied. You know what I mean? Like, I was never no big guy. You know what I'm saying? But I just wasn't going for it. You know what I'm saying? So like, I understand. Like sometimes, and once you like stand up, then you don't really have no problems like that. It only take one time. So I think, yeah, man, just listening to like what Mo was saying. I just look at, man, we gotta pull sometimes, man, we gotta pull that race card out, man. That like it's bad that black people come together for that, but we won't come together, you know what I mean, for anything else. Like it seems like that's what galvanizes us. Soon as like we feel like somebody's like, you know what I mean, something happened, white or black, oh yeah, we jumping in. But when we say, hey y'all, let's pull together and let's put our monies to do this, you don't get no reaction. You know what I mean? Or let's or this like, you know what I mean? They're buying up all the property, you know what I mean? Let's put our money together that. Nah, we don't get no reaction. We're gonna go Louis Vuitton. So I think if that's showing us we can come together with something like that, we need to be coming together a little more often for different circumstances.
Yeah, I feel you on that. Because when there's like that bait topic in there, that bait element, it just makes me want to just detach from it and just ignore it anyway. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, somebody, here's the race thing again, or here's poor versus rich again, or you know what I'm saying, or here's LBGTQ, or whatever the letters are. Like, so whenever you like it just makes me detached. And like, when can we get to genuine situations? You know what I'm saying? When can a narrative not be about the race? When can a narrative just be true? You know what I'm saying? But it's like the world doesn't live in truth. anymore. Like it's just I don't know if I can say anymore, but truth hasn't been a thing, and righteousness seems like it's not it hasn't a thing, and I'm experiencing some things now, and pretending that pertains to people just doing the right thing, and nobody's jumping to doing the right thing. It's just my best interest by any means necessary. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, dang, well, how could we get anywhere if everybody is out serving their best interests opposed to what's right?
Yo, I'm telling you, man, it's that social media era. Like, I think social media plays a big part in people becoming selfish, right? And people becoming detached. You know what I mean? And the ability that like what it enables people to like live in a lie. You know what I'm saying? Like, and create their own reality.
So I think, and I think Hit makes a good point, but something that kind of comes to mind when he says that is I believe people are drawn to that alternate reality because of these types of things that are actually going on in the real world. There's the have-nots, there's the privileged, there's the underprivileged, and because of those things that maybe they feel they can't do anything about, they gravitate towards these alternative realities to where there's a little bit of equality, or at least not so much of oppression. I've noticed that, and I thought about that because we had talked about it a little earlier about kind of those types of things, and I was like, is it a chicken or egg discussion? Like, did mental health caused by social media, or is it just more prominent because it's on display for everybody to see? Where back in the day we just kind of kept crazy Louis in the room and didn't let nobody see him. Now he's in front of millions.
But I think, all right, if you're constantly dealing in, I would say, reality, the real world, and you are socializing with regular people, or normally, somebody's gonna call something out. Like, you're gonna be called out, or you're gonna feel it. Like, you're gonna know, like, hey man, something about the way I think might be different from everybody else's. You know what I'm saying? Like, you'll see it because you're dealing with real people. But if you're on, say, social media, right, and you're in that reality, you're not dealing with real people. You know what I mean? You're only going to find people that's going to agree with you. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're going to
yeah. See what I'm saying? You're going to appeal to the mass of people that you're not really going to get in it. And then the one person that is speaking the truth, they're going to be drowned out by all the fake supporters that you have. So now you can just live in that reality and say, oh yeah, there ain't nothing wrong with me because everybody else is agreeing with me, or they think this is cool, or what I'm thinking is cool. He's just a hater. You see what I'm saying?
What if you're speaking the truth and people were agreeing with you because you're speaking the truth?
I mean, that's different. That's the truth. You know what I mean?
So the question is, how can you tell if it's different or not? Because based off of your said, if everybody's agreeing with, let's say, a lie, you know what I'm saying? Well, the masses kind of control the narrative. But truth or lie, somebody's going to end up seeming crazy, and it's always the one that's opposing.
What you mean? Break that down, man. What you mean?
Because if I'm telling a lie and everybody's going with my lie, right? And then somebody's like, oh no, that's a lie, XYZ. Well, the masses is going to call the one crazy.
Yeah.
On the flip, if I'm telling the truth and everybody's calling, going with my truth, and one dude is crazy, quote unquote.
Now he's a conspiracy theorist.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, how do you tell which one's which, man? And it blurs
social norms.
And then, you know what I'm saying? So, but it blurs.
Yep.
It blurs the social, even social norms. You know what I'm saying? Can be tied to things that we don't have no business being tied to.
But that's my point. Like, it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with right or wrong. A lot of times it's just more about groupthink, and do more people agree with it than not? Shoot, like there was a long time when people was like, yo, the earth is flat. And anybody who said it was round, it was like, get him out of here. You know what I mean? Like, so obviously people stopped saying it. They were like, yeah, the earth is flat. You know what I mean? Columbus, man, you go too far off, you're going to go off the edge. You know what I mean? And the consequences were real for saying something contrary to that. So, and like, obviously to a lesser extent, at least in, a more civilized Western society, but it's the same thing. Like, now that shame or that, that cyberbullying and stuff is real. If you're saying something that doesn't jive with the masses, or you find your own niche.
But I think oftentimes how you tell the difference is most of the time it's going to be whatever's taking the path of least resistance. So like most of the time, everybody's going to jump on something that is easy and relatable rather than something that's going to be hard and non-attainable. You see what I'm saying? So like if you look at it, like how do I know what's real and what's not? Is a lot of times the people that's telling the truth, they're going to be hated for the truth. I think it's
here's one clear example. Here's one clear example. We all know that some moms aren't the best. There's a lot of people that don't have the best mom relationships. But if you talk truth to your mom, who I can't believe you spoke about your mother that way, or people who are following the narrative of, oh, that's your mom, you shouldn't say this about your mom. You're shunned, but you're speaking the truth. And that's one of those things where like the social norm is your mom is untouchable. But the reality of your truth is
so especially in our community. I think one of the things, and not to get too deep because I know we're definitely going way far off the path with this one, but I mean, I think there's three sides of truth, and truth is subjective. So to just say that we talk about this all the time with religion. Like we could be saying the same thing, but you're like, I believe in this, so anything that deviates from this is a lie or it's blasphemy. Whereas both could be true. You know what I mean? So just having a little bit of, opening your mind a little bit to be open to, you don't have all the answers, or being open to understanding that there's a different perspective. So that perspective versus perception thing that I talked about a couple episodes is like that's kind of like that limitless pill. Once you unlock that changes everything for you. Like, because not only can you see things from your perspective, you can also look outside of yourself and see 360 or at least 180 from other people's perspective or from their perception. So, I think that's really dope.
But I think certain topics, it's had so much history in it, and it's so much as far as like mental programming that you'll never win with certain topics, like the mom topic, right? Mm-hmm. Moms are put on a pedestal, right? Like in our society, right? We've grown up and we have praised the moms no matter what, right? And it's just like, even like you said, playing to the race card. You know what I mean? It's certain racial, I'll say racial stigmas that like, for no matter what, like it's just not, you can never tell the truth about certain things. So I think with that mom thing, like I don't care if you're on social media, real life, no matter what, I think we have put a crown on moms, no matter how they are. You know what I mean? Like it just don't even matter, dude. Like, and I know some personally that is not that great. But if you say something about it, there's somebody that's going to defend them. I just think like it's just how society was built.
So based off of that, though, let's get into a little bit of the topic, though. With social media, how does social media play a part on how we look at retirement, and what are the expectations? Like, what should retirement look like, and how do social media persuade that idea?
So one, I'm definitely not the biggest social media guy, probably of all of us. I have the least, but what I've noticed is a lot of it, man, is about generational wealth and, living this opulent lifestyle. And to be honest, man, like they're trying to do it way younger, at least from what I've seen on a social media tip. Like they're trying to do it like now. You know what I mean? Like just because they don't want to work now. So they're like basically retired now. Like I remember I've done so many of those multi-level marketing pyramid joints, and they be like, you could retire yourself. Like I remember we was doing that in our 20s.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not retired. I'm just doing different work. Like that's not retiring yourself.
You could be
You're
retired by 30.
Work. Right. Like, no, you're just doing different work. You're not really retired. Retired is you you sitting on the couch or you doing what you want to do, and whether you got mailbox money, right? But that's the biggest thing that I've noticed is that it's a life of leisure. That's what I've noticed is people like, man, and those of us that have worked in retail, like it's called gross profit. Like any little bit of effort, they think they're supposed to get millions of dollars for it. That's what I've noticed. And that's not the reality. At least that has never been my reality that I've seen thus far. That's the biggest thing that it's about. Like, what's my man named Grant Cardone? He's talking about 10x everything. Like, that's not a reality. You can't 10x profit everything. And then people always talk about, oh, well, that's income. You're talking about it, like John Hope Bryant talks about it. Like, folks are talking about income. They're like, oh, well, I ain't really worried about income. I'm worried about generational wealth. But you can never get to generational wealth without having income. Generational wealth comes from a surplus of income. And people that aren't financially literate, they don't know that. They're just, spewing talking points to the stuff that is, the path of least resistance, because getting to a point of retirement means that you worked for a very long time and earned your leisure. So that's what I've noticed when it comes to social media.
Was that pun intended?
It wasn't, but I see why they came up with it. I see why they came up with the tagline, but that's exactly what it is.
What you got here?
Yo, I think if you tie in social media with retirement, I think social media is going to have a lot of 65 and 70-year-old prostitutes, right? Because if you listen,
too bad that, bro. Like,
that's real talk. I'm telling you right
I think there's a market for it.
It will be then, because everybody, I'm telling you, it's gonna be a lot of old dudes out there struggling too, man. It's gonna be a whole lot. It's gonna change, right? The dynamics is gonna change a lot. Because like we grew up, right? And you remember by the time grandma and them, they owned everything. Like they were set, like everything was paid for, they were set. Like they work, they send people to college, that kind of like they're kind of coasting at this point, right? It won't be like that, because just like Mo Better touched on, nobody is working, nobody wants to work. They're all looking for the golden ticket, right? And that's what social media teaches you, like, hey, there's a golden ticket. Hey, you can just create this or create content or do this. Like, you don't have to work. You can create wealth and none of this. And if everybody's doing it, the market's oversaturated. You know what I mean? Like, what is going to separate you from everybody else? And if you do make that big hit, right, then how do you sustain it? Because you're gonna make a bulk of your money when you're in your 20s. What are you gonna do from 20 on up, right? Unless you find another golden ticket. I think that it's, again, like, it creates almost delusion, right? Because people feel like people don't really show the work. So like one time in the gym, man, it was crazy, right? There was somebody had in the gym. They had the most followers like I ever had in there, right? It was really, really popular. They had a lot of followers, and I watched them work out, and I recorded stuff for them, and I watched them struggle in the whole workout. Like, they struggle with a lot of different things. But when I seen them chop that video up, it looked like a superhero was down there. You know what I mean? So, like, for real, I'm telling you the truth.
All highlights. Yo, that's what
I showed my son, and he was like, I said, yo, this is the same. He was like, whoa, like, damn, that would look nothing like how they really worked out. And so that shows you, like, with social media, you're posting the Maybachs, you're posting all these, you're posting the houses, you're posting all the Louis bags and everything else, but you're not really showing people the work that you put in to obtain those things. And so therefore, the misconception happens because people thinking that it's just that they're going to just do something and it's going to happen. Like, they're going to start posting, and then saying, all this money's going to roll in. And then next thing you know, you look up, you're 50, 60, and you're still prostituting. You know what I'm saying? And now you're going into your 70s.
Well, let's not talk because you don't know that life. What about you, though? Like, talk about from a man's perspective, because
from a man perspective,
unless you sell that thing. If you sell that thing, then you know what I'm saying. Just let me know. I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you out there slanging it, then you can speak to it. You know what I'm saying? But if you're not slanging it,
but I'm saying you. The question was, how does social media affect retirement?
I know, but you got to kind of speak some
from the man perspective.
Yeah, because you ain't never, unless you're prostituting.
From a man perspective,
we need to hear more stories. Then we need all the stories.
From a man perspective, I'll be living with a 300-pound white woman. You know what I mean? Trying to survive, trying to make it through these hard times because I didn't do right at the right time. That's the flip side of it. You know what I mean? So,
cold-blooded.
That's the flip side. Let my man Forrest Gump say. That's all I gotta say about that.
or like something else that I've seen, like they're gonna be doing a passport bro thing. Like, oh, I'll be a passport bro. I'm gonna be old and busted. I'll go somewhere to some third world country, get some baddie, and live like. And that's supposed to, like, you still gotta have the bread. Like,
you still gotta have bread. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. You don't have the bread. You can't. They're not coming over here for free. They want to live.
Now go ahead, guys. I want to kind of get to the next point though, because there's something else I've been seeing on.
But that's the work. So, and that's the biggest thing that I always talk about when it comes to retirement and generational wealth, because that's a big buzzword in our community. In order to have generational wealth, you have to have a surplus of income. Like, so find a way to generate some income first, and that's how you pay your bills now. Okay, now that you have a surplus on it, then you can invest it. Like I'm getting into my cash flow quadrant, that whole Robert Kiyosaki type stuff, that Rich Dad Poor Dad stuff. Like at that point, that's how you start getting enough wealth to invest, and you start creating businesses and stuff like that, to where your effort and energy isn't what's creating that money. That's how you get to a point where you have generational wealth, and you can then retire. Otherwise, you work until you die.
But to put that in layman's terms, right?
Mm-hmm.
You cannot spend more than you're making and expect to be able to do anything else. It doesn't matter if you make $500,000. If you spend $500,001, you're broke. So that's what the social media trick is doing. It's telling you that you need to have all this to be at a certain status. You need to have this chain. You need to have this kit. You need to have this car, and you're going to buy all that and still be able to put away and do everything Mo just said and retire. That's the gimmick.
So that's why I'm glad you guys both went there, because what's your ideas? Because this is big on social media too. People becoming extreme minimalists. You know what I'm saying? Like living out of the vans, living out of Walmarts when, when it closes, living out of, living out their cars.
Well, that's homelessness. Like that's
but people are purposely
like the fire method. If you're familiar with that, are you familiar with the fire method? Yeah.
Layman's terms.
So you go ahead. And finish the question.
But yeah,
I'll give you what the acronym stands for.
The idea behind, I'm retired because I'm able to live out of my van. Or I'm retired because I live out of a storage unit. You know what I'm saying? And I'm able to retire on this amount of dollar, and I did this for a couple of years. Or people will like go buy a plot of land in the middle of nowhere with no value and kind of try to build it up, like what I'm saying, the off grid, own water well kind of deal. You know what I'm saying? So, and both of you guys mentioned making a certain amount of money, but what about return based off of not spending a certain amount of money? What you got to say to that?
So I'm very, very familiar with that. And, if nothing else, man, I done tried everything, man. So back early 2000s, there was something, and I'm sure it's still around. It's called the FIRE method. And what it stands for is financial independence, retire early. And that's what they were doing. They're being severely minimalist. Like they'll sell their house, take the proceeds, go and throw it in the stock market and let that grow while they're living like you said, in a storage unit or whatever. To get to a point to where, I don't know, maybe at 30 or 40, they'll go and generally they'll have to go somewhere where their dollar will go farther. It'd be Latin America or something like that. So you end up having to pick up and leave because you don't have enough money to do it where you're currently at. So you'll go there and then you'll be able to live your best life for however long your money will last. So that's the premise of it. Do I believe in it? No. Because you have to live now. So I believe in delayed gratification, but I don't believe in starving myself until a filet mignon comes. That's not smart. And that's kind of what they're doing. They're like, man, I'm just going to sacrifice now, but then I'll go and live my best life in 10 years. Man, what if you don't make it to that? What if all the stress you put on your body and the rigor that you living outside or whatever like that, you stroke out? You didn't waste it. You didn't wasted your time. And that's the one thing we can't get back is time. So I don't believe in that. I definitely believe in not necessarily being a minimalist, but budgeting and being, I'm the king of that. Man, I didn't triple, maybe quadruple my salary, and I still have the same budget I had back when I was making $32,000 when I came down here. So, obviously there's, I got some bigger toys and stuff like that, but I have the same template that I use for a budget. As far as a percentage of my income goes to those certain buckets. But no, I think it's very important to live now, like, and reward yourself for that hard work as you're doing it, because it's like having goals. You have to do it like kind of in small chunks, and then I know me, especially the way I'm wired, like I can only do it for so long, and then eventually, man, I need to release. So I'm just not wired to do the fire method or to be an ultimate minimalist, but for sure, like there's some tenets, even some Dave Ramsey in me, but to a certain extent, I'm going to live right now as well.
Yo, I think it when I hear that, it reminds me of a saying like the greatest trick the devil played on the world was convincing the world he never existed. Right? I think that's another trick that social media uses for weak people and able for them to be okay in their circumstances. You know what I mean? For people to be all right with just quitting. That's a form of quitting. Like you're quitting on life, you're quitting on the pursuit. You're just quitting, and if you get enough people to agree with you, then it's a trend. It's not you just being a bum. Because basically what you're doing is saying I'm going to elect to live a homeless life. Like, so I know people, and I hate to say it, but family members that will go and use drugs and live a homeless life because the stress of life is too much for them to bear. Like all they had to do was worry about the next high, or you know what I mean, the minimum of life. You don't have to worry about going to work, worry about kids, you know what? It's a peace. There's a certain peace that they find in the way they live. I think that's just like I said, another trick that they're playing on people. So and the people that's accepting it is people who don't really want to try anyway. So they're going to go with it and say, oh, this is how I'm going to make it. And that, because if you live in a storage unit, right? How do you eat? Right? Where do you shower?
They get
right?
hot pot. They get a gym membership at Planet Fitness.
That's what I'm saying. You're showering in a public shower. That's not even, if you even like think of that concept, right? That's like if someone seen you doing that to a child, that'd be considered abuse. You know what I mean? Like
You're an adult.
Yeah, but that's not even what I'm saying. Is it's not even considered a standard of living by law. You understand what I'm saying? Like if you put a child in that situation, you're going to jail. So what I'm saying is like you're not even living a standard of living that like I said, but it's like below standard living. Like who would want to shower in a public bathroom every day?
I think most men would do that though. Most men would resort to a very minimalistic life if they like. I mean, because you say it all the time. This is something he says all the time, that dudes do a lot for women, right?
Right.
So if for the dudes that don't get no yams,
right?
he has nothing to lose anyway.
Yes,
he's not, and he doesn't have any kids, right? So what's the point of him living outside of a studio apartment or whatever, you know what I'm saying, and having a very minimalistic oodles and noodles life? Like for him, it's like the faster I can die, the better.
No, that's that you gave up. You quit. Like, yo, when there's more women in the world than men, there's more women in the world than men.
Yeah, but all men can't get yams. So is life without yams worth it?
Yo, this
Life
somebody
worth living
yo,
if you can't get no cheeks.
this somebody that'll give up some yams, yo. That would, but they're
But if
not
you
gonna.
can't,
You're not gonna get no yams if I take you to a storage unit and tell you, hey, this is where I'm living on this cot.
not
Like,
true. Not
not if
true.
you're not that dude. If you're not that dude, it's not happening. If you're not that guy, you gotta be able to have a little more to give. Like you gotta play to your strengths.
Buddy had a whole woman living out of the storage unit.
Look, y'all clip this because I'm telling you, man, hard times isn't coming. I'm telling you, like in a couple years, boy, there's gonna be some folks that's like, man, I got the big storage unit. Like folks is gonna be out here living like this.
So you telling me this, right? Is it okay? Do you think it's okay for men to get liposuction? Do you think so?
I guess, yeah.
It's all right.
Yeah.
What socially, right? Socially, it's okay now, but 20 years ago, you'll be shamed and shunned because they're like, "Yo, dog, hit the gym. What's up with you? Like, what are you doing?"
I mean, I
Right?
think 20 years ago you would have been shunned for getting breast implants, but now I can't see like
No, no, that was always a thing. Like you always, I mean,
no, I
that was
wouldn't say
always the thing.
always. I think it was looked at a certain way. Now so many women have them. Like I said,
Karma
like,
Electra, you got Karma Electra.
I was
You
gonna say, I
got
think that was more a social or a class thing.
that was a
Like
class thing. Yes,
the only
exactly.
people that were shaming was the people that couldn't afford it. Like
Yeah,
people that OJ and it was running with in the 60s and 70s, they was doing
they
it.
were doing it. It was
We
like
just couldn't afford it, so
the
we was
old
hitting the
rich
gym.
man. The
so
old rich
you're saying
man.
it's classes and poor people was shaming people who
Yeah,
could do it.
it was
Say,
the rich man would get the young girl and he would give her implants. That was
yeah.
the come up. You know what I mean? But I think for
But
men,
but then you got certain guys. Oh, I only like real titties. If it ain't for real titties, I only like real titties. Like you know what I'm saying? Now
that's because they can't afford the ones that got the fake joint. so you got to do that.
Yeah.
Well, clock that. Stay in your tax bracket, huh?
That's what you got to say that. Like that's just saying like. But that's what I'm saying. That's the form of quitting, right? And that's the same way, dude. You need minimum things to live, man. I think quality of life is why we do what we do, right? It's a certain quality of life. I want to have a hot shower in my home. You know what I mean? Like I want to be able to cook a quality meal, and like I think that there's certain people that go and live in the woods, just for that wilderness. You know what I mean? For certain mental breaks. But I'm sure they're well
They come
off.
home
It's
to
not
mansions though.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They be coming home to mansions though. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I don't think it's the same as living in the storage or living in tents and like you're not coming up. You just don't want to work. I
Yeah.
think that's the biggest thing. You just don't want to work. You don't want to put in the work that's necessary.
No, I can dig it. So another way of people retirement is putting so much into their children that my kid makes it and now they're obligated to take care of me. What's your thoughts on that, Mo?
I hate it. Reason being, that's not the way money is meant to flow. So I can't think of my man's name. He used to play for the Jets, Justin Tuck. So he's a wealth management guy now. He's a money guy now. And he was on one of those podcasts and he talked about that. And he says he hates to see that because what'll happen is, specifically in our community, that's what we do. I want to say my man's name was Philip Buchanan. He was a cornerback, came out of the U. So on the day he got drafted in the first round. His mom gave him an invoice for $1 million. This is for raising you. One, he hadn't even got paid yet. And two, that's not the way it's supposed to. You brought me here. I didn't ask to be here. So no, you don't get to invoice me. So the fact that that's a retirement plan, I hate it. It's not realistic because think about it, especially when it comes to, we always talk about it, like, especially if it's like a sports or like entertainment thing, you're 1 of 1%. So, you know what I mean? So, I mean, the chances of you making it were so slim anyway. So something else that this kind of goes a different way, but it's interesting. I've been seeing it like there is what I say is the probability versus the possibility. Instead of possibility, they're going with the higher probability now. Whereas older chicks are just having babies by younger current athletes and securing a bag that way. Now they got their retirement versus, well, let me have the baby, raise him, and try to make him something, then to retire me. No, I'm gonna go to the actual spigot itself and extract the money now. So like they don't even have enough foresight or longevity to try to get it from a retirement. They want damn near annuity. They want the cash option right now. So we're old chicks like with Anthony Edwards, old chick, she was like 40, got Anthony Edwards 23, messing with him, got the baby, cash me out. You know what I mean? So like, no, that's not the way it's supposed to work. And like I said, retirement, I would imagine it's Latin for after work. Like folks think they can retire without working. Like you can't retire if you didn't put in the work. So that's the part that it blows my mind that you can even have that expectation that you can extract something from something you didn't put in. And that's the biggest thing. Like I think it's a horrible idea, and I don't think that it's realistic, and it's unfair to that kid that possibly will make it.
Yo, I think, man, that's a hell of a concept, but he's exactly right. Like, I think people feel like their crops are just going to grow, and they're going to have this massive crops by just walking around and throwing some seeds and then going back in the house and waiting. You know what I mean? And then when you're watering and doing everything that's necessary, and you out in the fields and you're doing everything necessary, and your crops grow, then they resent you for it. They want to come and you know what I mean, act like you owe them something at this point because you have and they don't. I think that's the new mentality, man. It's like, you know what I mean, you attack everybody that have or who's working for it, and then you don't want to put in the necessary work, man. It's crazy. And I think they even want with your children, like in that situation, a lot of people like they really like manipulate these kids. They bet on them. Like this is gonna be like, this is my come up. You know what I mean? Like this is what I'm waiting on. And they actually wait. And they even put unneeded pressure on the child. Like, yo, you need to do, you gotta do this because you know what I mean? And I think that's the Black story, man. That's why, like, with me and my children, I just don't want them to start from scratch. Right? That's my whole mission, is that y'all don't have to start from scratch. Right? Y'all can take the baton and go from here. You know what I mean? I'm not leaving them nothing. Like
I was going to say, what does that mean? What does that mean to you? Does that mean monetarily or what?
Right? That right now I'm giving them the investment. Right? I'm investing everything that they're gonna need in order to be successful. Don't depend on what I had, because this is mine. This is what I made. And I still made the sacrifices for put you in position so you can have your own. Anything you get from me is a bonus, right? But you waiting on me, just like in turn is flip side of the parent waiting on the child. The child can wait on the parent, or I'll wait for my dad, and he gonna give me this, he gonna give me that. And that's saying, they're not working and sowing their own seeds so they can make their own harvest. You see what I'm saying? Anything you get from me will be a bonus, but that's not going to be your retirement. Your retirement is going to come from what you did and what you put in. My investment in you was me doing everything right now to set you up, put you on my credit, giving you credit cards in my name, and making sure you got money for college, making sure you got this, because now you don't have to start from where I started. You got a better chance of making it. Like there's some people I work with, and one time this guy was talking to me, and I was like, dude, you're not smarter than me. You just had better opportunities. You know what I mean? That's the only reason why you're ahead. You know what I mean? You didn't have to start from scratch. His people put him in position to be able to do certain things, you know what I mean, without having to do the massive work that it took me to get there. So like, even with like my home and everything, I'm not leaving nothing. Like I seen people work their whole life and leave houses, and them houses was neglected. You know what I mean? People didn't look at it the same. They didn't value it the same way that they did. So I'm taking my money, I'm gonna cash this joint out, and I'm gonna go to Thailand and have big head, you know what I'm saying, wide shoulder black babies. You know what I'm saying? Have them run around and shoot. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna enjoy the rest of my life because I know I did everything necessary to put them in position to be successful.
Okay, so all right, man. Hold on. Let's switch it up. Let's say you do cash out, go to Big Head Thailand, you set them up, right? At some point, you gonna need them. What
Am I?
it's a I don't know. We about to find out. So it's a two-part question. As what financial responsibility would a child have to support their elderly parent? And or overall, what would be the obligation to the extent of things they would need to do or prioritize for their elderly parent? Like what would be their obligation to take care of? What you got, Mo?
So I'm sure with all of us, the answer is going to be different. So we're all going to get old, right? And we're all at some point, if we're blessed enough or lucky enough to make it that far. For me, I only got one kid, so yeah, there is some obligation there, but it's not going to be financial. You know what I mean? Like, the money's going to be there. I always tell them, like, just make sure I got a fine nurse and, tell her, man, I'm ready for my sponge bath. I'm feeling real dirty. You know what I mean? So it's just one of the things, but the burden wouldn't be financial. The burden will be making sure I'm comfortable and I'm safe in those last days to where I'm not, you know what I mean, out here just, walking off the old folks home and can't nobody find me. Like I would like to be, at a place, hopefully, with her family or where I can, help and give these stories and give this game and give this insight if I'm still in my right mind to my grandkids and stuff like that.
Yo, so you'll take the bedroom in the back?
Man, look, yeah, or man, hopefully we up so much like, hey,
you get
man,
your wing, you get a wing.
Yeah, just give me the wing. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, okay.
Like that's the hope. But yeah, that would be my hope. But I wouldn't want to be a burden on them. I will say that. Like, I don't want to be a burden on nobody. But if nothing else, it won't be financial.
Though. Isn't that
it won't be financial?
Okay.
But I mean, like, I think if you do enough in your younger years, hell, if anything, it could help. It could help them. You know what I mean? Like in this scenario, like, hell, when I'm gone, it's like I can't take none of this stuff with me, so I'll leave it to them. I'm all for it here. But hopefully, like, I ain't gone yet, so don't just let's hurry get him out of here so we could do what we want to do with the money. So you know what I mean. So don't do me like that. But so like I said, man. But I would like, hopefully I instilled enough in them, and I always say the inheritance is what you leave in them. Pause versus what you left to them. I think that's way more important. So hopefully she has a certain level of reverence for me and at least enough love to where she ain't gonna, just leave me out here. But yeah, I mean, I think there is a certain obligation to at least make sure that they're okay. And I would hope that, we had that type of relationship where she would feel that way. And whatever that burden would be, it would maybe be emotional or maybe energy wise to where, oh man, I got to take him to his doctor's appointment again. It wouldn't be financial. So at least from that standpoint, it shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, like Mo said, man, I'm not hedging my bet on them taking care of me financially. I think I'm gonna set myself up in that matter. But then again, that's what I'm saying. He had a good point. That's why you make it where they're okay by themselves. So they're not waiting to kill you off to get the money from you. You know what I mean? Like, man, he don't need that medication. Just go ahead, let he be all right. You know what I'm saying? Like,
putting that pillow over you. Yeah, throw that pillow over you.
Hey, you up in there every night with the covers halfway over your head, looking around, thinking like, is it tonight? They gonna get me and shit. But I think you do the work now to set them up and have them financially stable on their own. And at that point in my life, if when I get there again, my plan is to have one of my wives, that's 20 years younger, by one or two, they take turns, and they make sure I'm okay. Because honestly, you think about how we living now, right? I mean, you how often are you going to see somebody elderly? Like, it's going to be holidays, it's going to be different, birthdays. I mean, they're caught up in living. They're living their own life. You can't And that's the problem, right? What people don't understand. Dude, stop investing all your life in your children. They're a part of life, but they're not your life. You know what I mean? And then now you're holding them because you're like, oh, I invested and how much I sacrificed for you, and now you're making them feel obligated to have to come and take care of you because you didn't make a life outside of them. You know what I mean? So when they're gone, now you're still like you're waiting on them to come back, man. So no, go live your life, yo. Create a life that's you know what I mean that you want, and so you're not putting them kids in a bad spot. You know what I mean? Like because you ain't got nobody. You know what I mean? Or you know what I mean? You don't have no friends. You don't have. You know what I mean? I want to be calling y'all like, yo, man, let's go golfing. Like, yo, let's go watch these young girls. You know what I'm saying? Like I got stuff to do. I'm gonna be telling my kid, hey, don't drop them kids off over here. I got stuff I'm trying to do. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to live. You know what I mean? I set myself up. I set my life up for this. So I think that's another point that we do, man. But yeah, I'm not betting on them to come take care of me, man. I'm gonna take care of myself, man. You know what I mean? I'm gonna set myself up to be able to take care of myself socially, financially, man. And the physical part, you know what I mean? We're gonna all wear down, but again, like they're not gonna be there every day. I don't want to be in the room back in the back with them. You know what I mean? I want to. I really don't. Like I don't want to be around them no more. Them badass kids around here. I want to be somewhere chilling, man. So I'm gonna set myself up to be able to do that, man. And I just suggest people do the same thing, man. Start living through your kids, man. You know what I mean? That's not a real. I don't know where that came from, but like, yo, they are part of life. They're a part of a section of our life, but they're not our entire life. You know what I mean?
I think I'm on a mission for both of them though, right? So like, uh, I want a piece of everything y'all both said. You know, as far as the bigger house and give me the ensuite, and give me my own little wing, uh, as well as having my separation and what I'm saying, being able to go golfing. What I'm saying, I'm gonna go see Uncle Hit in Thailand real quick. I'll be back, like what I'm saying. So just the whole thing, but. And as far as like not setting them up from zero, right? I would like, I think I see other families kind of doing this, right? And I don't know everything about every other culture, but everybody get into a place where we all do this together. You understand what I'm saying? So not only like I start the restaurant business as we get older, as the kids grow older, they then become a part of the restaurant business, and now we're all putting into the same pot, kind of a situation, and then we can have a bigger space. You know what I mean? Like I see those compounds of the son lives over here and the sister lives over here and this is the parents' house. You know what I'm saying? They share the pool, like these huge estates. So I think that's more of what I would be trying to accomplish, a situation where I build everybody to a place where we're all contributing equally, and then we could all just kind of cash out, and you can bury me in the backyard, and now it's a tax write-off. You don't got to pay no taxes on the type. You know what I'm saying? So however it work, it's just however we get there would be a thing. You know what I mean? Hopefully I get one who can follow in my footsteps and one that does something else, and everybody can contribute in their own light to a prototype kingdom, if we might say. You understand? So,
But the cool part is that not once did you say like you were dependent on them though, right? You're not you're living with them, you know what I mean, and y'all still living together, but you're not dependent. And oftentimes people really depend, like that's their plan. Like, well, I'm gonna send them to college, and then later on they're gonna come back and take care of me, right? And that what leads to the disappointment and everything else because you're not setting yourself up. You know what I mean? They're gonna live in conjunction with your success, and their success, y'all gonna create. Everybody's gonna be more successful. You see what
exactly,
I'm
yeah.
saying?
Yeah, like I don't really want to drive a car to go see my grandkids. I want to drive a golf cart. You understand what I'm saying? Like I think that would be a more susceptible. We have our own little road that we could do donuts in. So that would be the ideal.
So one of the things that I wanted to touch on before because I know we get coming up on time, and one of the things that I wanted to kind of talk about, man, I know like it's a buzzword to talk about generational wealth and stuff like that. A lot of us ain't gonna have it, like at least like liquid to be like here, like unless you got insurance. Obviously, that's one way to do it. But the one thing that, man, I urge people to do, man, anybody in my circle, man, that I at least love or got enough, reverence for, I tell get you some real estate. Because more oftentimes than not, that's the only generational wealth the average person is going to have. And all of us, kind of knowing our backstory, where we come from, the biggest thing that you can do for the next generation, at the very least, and if you could take care of like their living situation. Imagine if when we all moved to Atlanta, you had a house and you never had to pay a mortgage or rent or anything like that. Wouldn't that really gave you a big head start? Like, at the very least, do that. You know what I mean? And it doesn't take much. Like, as long as you get you a house, and it could be modest, but it's a house, it's yours. And as long as you don't default on it, it can go to your next in line. I think that in itself, it seems like it's very minimal, but it helps so much. Like, I remember when I got to the point to be able to not have a mortgage, and like, I remember how freeing and liberating it was. Man, you go to work and you be real bold. Like, you know what I mean? Like man, I quit. I don't gotta be here. You know what I mean? Like, you be having real thoughts like that. Like, once you get to that point. So, and like, I didn't get there till I was 40. So imagine if my daughter had that feeling when she walked out of law school at 22.
Well, I think it's also an opportunity to chase what you really want to do and not be stuck in something
Absolutely.
that you're not passionate about.
Absolutely. It gives you options.
Yeah, so if you can go out there and really jump from as high as you can, and you always got a safety net, you know what I'm saying? There's no limit on what you can accomplish when you think you got everything behind you. You know what I'm saying? You could really give your best effort, and you can put all your mind, body, whatever to it. You know what I'm saying? So
I think with that creating generational wealth, I think oftentimes too, we always relate that with something monetary. But I think also generational wealth is creating morally valuable people. You know what I mean? Like, oftentimes we put so much into the education and the financial part that you're creating immoral geniuses. You know what I'm saying? And they got all the studies, but they don't have no values or morals at all. And what happens is that that's how the money gets ruined. You know what I mean? And because they don't have no values, they don't have no principles. You know what I mean? And so you can stack it up and have everything lined up for them, and they lose it all because, you know what I mean, you didn't invest in them and the moral side of it, man. So like, I would say, like, you know what I mean, if we want to create generational wealth, it's not how much stuff we can obtain, but like, you know what I mean, how can we structure our kids to be able, to sustain this and keep going? You know what I mean? Don't forget about that part, right? Make sure that you structure, you know what I mean, that you spend time with them and teach them values, man. Like, that shit is huge. You know what I mean?
That's so real, man. And what he said, it made me think of the Shannon Sharp situation. Man, this dude grew up in rural Georgia. Like, had no running water. They had no plumbing in this house, a cinder block house. He's 56 years old, so this wasn't that long ago. Man, this dude just got he built himself up, became a Hall of Famer. Him and his brother became Hall of Famers in the NFL. Just this week, he had got a deal for his media company for $100 million. The next day, he got a lawsuit for some young chick he was messing with for $50 million.
That's crazy. Is that what's going on with that?
Yeah. So, like you said, we didn't create a amoral genius. So it took him 56 years to accumulate this. It took her, a couple pumps, and now she's like, I want half of it.
Yeah. Remember that thing you did? Yeah, I ain't consent to that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, you got to be very careful. And specifically, we always talk about, like we talked about in the beginning, we're like, that race thing, but man, like, it's a thing because the way the world reacts to you, you have to acknowledge the elephant in the room. Successful black men, man, you maybe like Latina or something like that. Yeah. But yeah, like, you are in the same dude, Tony Busby, that same lawyer that got Deshaun Watson and was going after Jay-Z is her lawyer. Like, they coming after you. So, man, you better be.
I don't think they got anything from Deshaun, did they? He ain't cash out.
Oh,
Yeah, they got
Heck
they
yes,
got
he
to the
did.
car, but they didn't
Oh,
get
yeah,
nothing.
they got him.
But
They
you
didn't
know
get
what's
nothing from Jay-Z,
crazy?
though.
They no. So everybody jumped to crucify Jay-Z, right? Black,
And he beat
white,
it. He beat it.
everybody,
Nobody talking about it.
and nobody said nothing about him. You wouldn't even know he beat it.
No
But
public apology, no nothing.
no, nobody came out and even it wasn't no stories. It was nothing
Yep.
trending on YouTube or no social media. But when they thought that they had him, like they were ready to tear him
He
down.
just like
I mean,
Diddy. He just like Diddy and R. Kelly.
everybody,
Diddy.
their mother
I'm
was
like,
talking
damn.
about it, man.
Yeah.
But when he stood his ground and he won it, nobody's celebrating it. It's like
He didn't
we
even stand his
forgot about it.
ground. Yeah, he didn't even stand his ground. And I took a message from that. He didn't just stand his ground. He went on the attack.
Yeah,
Like
he said,
he went after
I'm not
dude's
having
law
it.
degree. Like he went after dude's law license. Was like no. And I really believe like I don't want to shame victims or anything like that. That's not my intent. But like until we start having consequences for people putting frivolous lawsuits and frivolous accusations, they're gonna keep doing this. So if you feel that you really didn't do anything wrong, man, go at them just as hard as they coming at you. And that's the only way this is gonna stop.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Amen, amen. And yeah. And that's another prototype dad. Appreciate y'all.